Hi, everybody. It's Crazy, and for another week, we're up to episode number 24, and it's Wednesday. If you haven't been following along, we've been working from this book right here called Automate the Boring Stuff. This week, I did a lot of grinding. I mean, I grinded at it this week, and I was really proud of myself. Had some issues go on and wound up not doing any more for the rest of the week, but I really got into it, and then things kind of fell apart. So I'm going to go ahead and go with this, and I'm going to show you what I've gotten done so far. So I was ended off on page 180. Actually, it was 181, and you just scroll up a little bit. um, with the file reading and writing process. Now, this one was a little hard for me because of the fact that, not really so much hard. It was just trying to understand what was doing what and what was doing where until I started recognizing some of the things that were going on. For example, everybody knows you can open a file as long as you got the file name, and most of them are text. It's easier to work with text. When you're reading the contents of a file, okay, you would just use .read, okay, and made sense. I got that. You can open the file up. You can read from that file, and you can actually read the lines. You can read it for each line. Okay. Then you get into writing files. Writing files is that it automatically will change that file. In other words, as soon as you type anything in for it, it's automatically going to overwrite whatever it is. Okay. And then you've got append, which is the .a or a, at the end, which is the second argument in the code. So you give it the file name you want to open, and what you want, and the append, so you can append to it. That's what the A is for append. And that was fun, but I didn't realize you had to close files. So I spent about 20 minutes trying to figure out why my program isn't doing what it's supposed to, because I never closed it. You got to close the file. That's the most important thing about this, is if you open it, you close it. Okay? The thing that parents used to always tell their kids, if you're going to leave that door open, you ain't going to get anything done. Same concept. Okay? Saving variables with the shelf module. Now, the shelf module was really interesting. I understand the concept, and I think it's really cool, and it can have a lot of good stuff to do. You can, what happens with that is it actually makes it into a file, and it gives you like .back, .bat, and .dir. Okay? Now, with that, most of them, when you do that, you try to open up a file that isn't a text document, it can get kind of tedious. But with shelf, it's much easier. So you shelf.open and in your my data file, and it will pop it open, and you can write to it. You can, and then just make sure you close it. You can do all kinds of stuff with shelf files. And then I got into this one, and I remember the P-print from, I believe it was chapter 7, and it was chapter 7, and where you had to do a pretty print. Okay, now pretty print makes it look nice when it's printed up. And if you're doing a major text and you got just like long line, if you just throw it all in there, it's going to look like a bunch of garbled, words. This right here prints it out really nice. You can actually do with the P format, okay, the .p format, you can actually use like programming language as it. You can p-print, say part of your Python program, like say this right here, and you wanted to save that to a file, you can, and it'll keep it just like that. No matter what you do, it will automatically put it like that as long as you're using the pprint.p format function. And I thought that was awesome because, hey, what about if you wanted to, have like a conversation going on, and you wanted to keep it in context, and it's not just a whole bunch of, Bob this, that, and, Chris, or John, this way it says, Bob said this to Chris, And John jumped in and said, no, blah, 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 you know. So you get nice formatted text, and it looks good. And that's what, you know, the pprint.p format function does. It just makes it, you know, into a good format. If you are on Discord, when you do, yeah, I think it's the little slashes right next to the one, it's got next to the squiggly mark, that one. If you hit, you know, that one, it'd do 3 of them, and then hit pi, it'll do Python. Or if you hit C, it'll do C. You know, so on and so forth. You know, I think it's Java for Java. You know, so on and so forth. I don't know which ones. I only use Python, so I'm just happy with that. But that's basically what that does. It, you know, it takes that format and it says it's going to do it like this, and that's how it's going to do it. So I got all the way down to 8A random quiz generator, which is just a project. Now this is one where it runs you through the project, and you know, it doesn't do like it does practice projects. Practice projects are ones that they give you just enough information to go with, and you got to figure out the coding yourself. This one walks you through every step of the code to try to help you learn it. So let's go to that one, which is this one right here. And I started on page 187. We'll go ahead and put that one in. 187. Try to keep up with it. Okay, and that's where I started off from that. Let's see. Yeah. I started off from there and I kept going, and I put all this information, and it tells you what we're going to do. We're going to create 35 different quizzes. It creates 50 multiple choice questions for each quiz in a random order so nobody can cheat. It provides the correct answer and 3 random wrong answers for each question in a random order. And then it writes the quizzes to 35 text files. Okay? Writes the answer keys to 35 text files. So you have the answers to those 35 questions and the questions for 35, you know, for the quiz. Okay? Now, as they walked you through it, you know, if you notice that I do a lot of print statements, this is to help me understand it better. And so when I run the code, when I hit, you know, F5, it goes through the whole process. I'm just going to exit out of it because all it does is it creates files. I've already got them. But it runs through it and it creates every single one for, you know, for all 50 states, you know, 50 states and their capitals. Okay, so I double print so that way it'll show up in the print. You know, it'll print it out as it's going, so that way I can kind of look at it and see what it's doing. And so now it, you know, in this part it says, okay, these are my to-dos. You know, and this I get, and I'm really understanding that, and I'm getting the idea of the to-do now. You know, when you put it in to do, that means that's something you've got to do, and it's in there, but it's not done yet. So you got to comment it out so you can say, okay, I want to create quiz and answer key files, and the next time I want to write out the header and for the quiz, and so on and so forth down the line. And that's what I did here. Is, you know, I went to step 2. You know, I created the quiz answer files, which is these guys right here. You know, I, you know, wrote out the header for the quiz, which is right here. I shuffled the order of the states, which is right here. You know, and as you see, I'm walking through this. And as I got to the last one, which is loop through all 50 states, making questions for each. And that's that jumbling that you saw when I ran the program. It's going to do this for every single state. Okay. And it's going to do this 35 times, creating the 35 quizzes and answer sheets. And I got to the end of it, and I'm like, wow, I am stoked. You know, this is interesting. You know, my only question was, you know, why so many spaces? But hey, I don't know, and I can't really remember. So I got up to this one, which is, you know, 8B, which is the MCB PWY, no, or PYW. Now, PYW is for running the program outside of IDLE. You can run it in a command prompt, you know, and if you can make it into an exec file, you can actually run it from the PYW. And I've got that one right here. There we go. And you also have to have this if you're going to run it outside of the IDLE, okay, or the idle, as some people call it. And this one's the other project you work on. It's called Multi-Clipboard. and it tells you, this is a quick note. The .py extension means that Python won't show a terminal window when it runs the program. It will not show that when I hit run program, when I hit F5, it shouldn't show this, but it does because I'm running IDLE. And for some odd reason, it still doesn't, and this is also an older program. The terminal, see, also the shebang line, the pound exclamation point Python 3 for Windows, and of course, if you do it in OS X or if you do it in Linux, they have their own little thing, but it's still that same pound exclamation point, which is called a shebang line. Okay. Begins with the pound and the exclamation point, and it is needed to run Python programs from the command line. So you can run it from the command line. Now, I fought with this program. Oh, I fought with this program. Yeah, I don't know. And this right here is the usage, that you can use. Okay, when you want to run it, you run this, and you put in save, and you can save a keyword to for the clipboard that you have. And I tried it, and it works really well. You can type a whole bunch of Python code, or not Python code, I'm sorry, a whole bunch of text, and then hit on the clipboard, copy it to the clipboard, and then when you save it, you can put in a specialized word, like I can use Python, for example. And then when you want to load it, you would just run run the program again, and you would put Python here, and it will load that keyword to the clipboard. So it will put that on the clipboard, and you can put it into a file, copy it to a document, whatever. It's the same thing. There was one that uses that. Way back when, you used to be able to hit the up arrow key, and sometimes you can, but it will reprint the last thing that you typed. Kind of the same concept. And I thought that was cool, but I could not get the program to work. I mean, I fought all night, and I finally got it. And so I put this in there so that way it would let me know that if I don't see this, there's something wrong, because it's got to show the whole file. The program has to run, and what it was doing, it wasn't running. And what my mistake was, I didn't use double quotes. Okay, when it was calling that file. Let me see if I can find it. So give me just a moment. Okay. I think that's actually in another file, and I have deleted that. It was the mc.bat file. So let's go ahead and go to it. I think I've got it in here. Let me see, bbat. There it is. Let's go to edit. Here it is. Okay, this is the file that I used. And what my problem was is I forgot these guys right here. These two little guys. And that created a world of hurt, because it would say, okay, yeah, I know where that's at. Okay. Now what? If you don't use these, what will happen is it will just kind of just sit there and wait for you, because it knows where this folder is, or where this file is, but it doesn't know what to do with it. When you put these quotes in there, it says, okay, you're doing this, and then you're running this. Oh, so my computer finally caught up, and it ran the program, and yeah, it was wonderful. So, with that being said, I finally figured it out. I was driving myself crazy with it. I think it was for a good hour and a half, trying to figure out why this is. I was scrolling the internet. I was looking. I was trying to find it, and I finally found it. And it was like, okay, what? I didn't put quotes in? Oh, no way. That can't be it. And as soon as I did it, it ran. And I'm like, so when in doubt, try to put quotes in it, see if it works. I don't know, maybe it might work. But nonetheless, so I got to the end of the program. I ended off on page 194, and I'm going to put that in here. 194, which in turn brings me to the summary of chapter 8. Okay, and I was like, I made it to the end? Oh my god. So I was like, okay, I bypassed the practice questions this time around, because I got the understanding on how to do these. So I was like, okay, I'm going to keep going, because I know how to open a file and write a file and a lot of these other stuff. And I figured out a problem I was having. If I didn't figure that out, I would have done these. And I decided that since I figured it out and I gave myself an attaboy, I gave myself a pass on those. And then I found myself at page 9, or chapter 9, not page 9, chapter 9. And that brings me to organizing files. Let me kick it back over here. So, organizing files was interesting because of the fact that you can actually change files and folders on your computer from Python. And people are like, how do you do that? It looks simple. I mean, you can just, literally just use. It's actually, I call it shuttle. It's not called that though, but it's a utility, okay? And I believe it's share utility, something like that. But I can't remember exactly right off the bat. But I just call it shuttle, so we'll call it shuttle. And basically, all you're doing is running shuttle, and you're copying it from one location to another. And you can do that with files. You can do that with, you can copy the entire tree, okay, from the source and destination. All you have to do is import the shuttle, okay. I run this out because I kept doing it through, and so you'll see a lot of that in there, okay. um, I also changed to drive D instead of drive C, to remind myself that if I run it on C, my computer is so restricted that it says, okay, yeah, no, you're not putting anything in here. It's a C drive. No, sir, sorry. So I got D drive and I put it on D drive, so everything went to D drive. You can move and rename files and folders. You can permanently delete files and folders, which is, they gave a half of a page long stating that please do not just start doing this. What you want to do is there's a neat little submodule. What was the name of that submodule? Yeah. It's supposed to be send to trash. Sorry about that. Send to trash module, okay, and you can download it. Just automatically just bring up your pip and install send to trash, and it will automatically download it. You can actually pull that, import that in without a problem. And I did it, and it actually put it in my trash bin instead of permanently deleting it. And I thought that would be the way I would want to do it, because of the fact that it would be better off to put it in your recycling bin. So that way, if you say, okay, delete C prompt, and you hit star or dot star, that's going to delete everything on your C drive, dude. Do that if you're a girl watching this show or watching this. But if you send it to your trash, it's going to say, wait a minute, there's some really iffy files you don't want to delete. You can restore them without having to fight it. And I don't think anybody's going to do dot star and delete everything off the drive. But if you did it to your, like, for example, I was using drive D, that would delete a lot of my games and everything else. I don't want that. I would want to put them back. Okay. And so that led me up to walking a directory tree, and I ended on page 202. 202. And I started the directory tree. I did the program. Okay. I read through this and got all the way to here, and that's kind of where I stopped. I had some issues go on that I couldn't quite deal with, and I just wasn't into it and fell out of my little learning curve for, a day or so. So I ended there, and that's where I'm going to end this video. And if you found this any way helpful, I hope it did. It helped me out going through the program. So get these books if you really would like to learn Python and figure, it help yourself figuring them out. Print statements do help you, and most people say, "Well, crazy, that's not the print statement that we're talking about." Yeah, well, to me it is. To me, putting in this print, okay, will print just that for me. But it also, if I did print, this, it's not going to print that to the screen. It's not going to print what this does to the screen. But this is just standard print statements. But if I did something like this, it'll show this on the screen, so I can look at it as it runs the program. You know, and I can say, oh, okay, so it's going to print that up. It's going to put the folder name. Yeah, okay. That kind of helps me. If that helps you learn something, go with it. I don't think it'll be a problem. And if anybody tells you it's a problem, well, they're not you. So, with that being said, uh, I'm almost halfway through. I've got up to chapter 17 to go, and I'm up to chapter 9. So I think I'm doing pretty good. You know, being at it's 8.5 8.5 chapters, in order to get through. So I'm at 9. So I'm a little bit past halfway, and I haven't made it through halfway of the book yet. And I've got 5 more episodes to run. Hopefully it works, right? Well, check me out next week and see.